Today we're going to explore the NR200P V3 in more detail. In my last video I did a first look and now it's time to show you how the actual build process looks like. This is not going to be a perfect clean build guide. I made some good decisions during the assembly but also a few bad ones, and I'll call those out explicitly so you can avoid making the same mistakes. First, let me quickly go over the hardware I'm using. For the last year and a half, I've been running my system in the DAN A3. The configuration consists of an Asus ROG Strix B650EI motherboard, an Asus Loki 1000 watt SFXL power supply, a Ryzen 7 7800X3D, 32GB of DDR5 RAM, an MSI RTX 4090 Supreme and liquid cooling. I also have a couple of SSDs installed, but those aren't very relevant for this video. If this setup fits and works well, most builds will. The first thing you want to do is remove all the chassis elements that could limit your access to the inside of the case. Start with the top and side panels, but I also recommend removing the front and the back panels right away. Both can simply be pulled away from the case. This gives you much better access. When removing the front panel later, just push it out gently from the inside. Next, remove the GPU mounting bracket from the back. Unscrew the 4 screws, then push the bracket slightly forward and up to release it. Don't swing it sideways as that can damage the mounting pins. Finally, unscrew and remove the PSU bracket. With the case fully opened up, we can start assembling the internals. Begin with the power supply. Attach the removed PSU bracket to the PSU first, secure it with screws and connect all cables before installing it. This is important, space is very limited once the PSU is inside. Once that's done, install the PSU using the bracket. Now, mistake number one. Initially, I installed the PSU in the SFXL position. I don't recommend doing this if you're planning to use an AIO. It heavily limits the available space for the radiator and tubing. Unless you're going for a low-profile air cooler, I strongly recommend moving the PSU to the SFX position instead. If your PSU has flexible cables, like the Loki I'm using, you won't have any issues with the clearance at the bottom. Also, don't forget to connect the external power cable to the PSU, because I did. And yes, turn on the PSU as well. Next up is the AIO. The NR200P V3 supports up to 280mm AIO, so I had to ditch the 360mm unit I was using before in the DAN A3. I went with the Fentax Glacier 1 240D30, which I really like for SFF builds thanks to its soft, flexible tubing. Unfortunately, this exact model is no longer available, but if you're looking for something similar, I'd recommend options like the Deepcool LQ240, Corsair Nautilus 240 or any AIO with 27mm thick radiator and preferably side-mounted rotatable tubes. I'd avoid AIOs with tubes coming straight out of the top. Those tend to get in the way of the GPU. For tube routing, I used the space above the PSU and next to the radiator with some extra slack routed at the bottom of the PSU. This prevents the tubes from pushing against the GPU later on. Next is the motherboard. Install it as you normally would and connect all power, SATA and front panel cables. I was able to install one SSD at the front and one at the bottom of the case without any issues and connect both power and data cables. Connect your fan headers as well. RGB is optional here, you won't really see it anyway, except on the GPU. Once everything is connected, mount the AIO block and secure it firmly in place. And yes, don't forget thermal paste. Now it's good time to do some cable management. The best places to route the cables are the bottom of the case and the space between the PSU and the motherboard. I try to avoid routing cables directly between the radiator and the fans. It restricts the airflow and can sometimes cause cables to rub against the fan blades, which leads to that annoying scratchy noise. The general rule here is simple: clear everything above the PSU bracket. This area becomes extremely tight once the GPU is installed. Now it's time for the GPU. Attach the mounting bracket to the GPU first. Before sliding it into the case, don't forget to connect the PCIe riser cable. Slide the GPU into place and, mistake number 3, connect the GPU power cable before fully mounting it. I forgot to do this and had to remove the GPU entirely because once installed, accessing the power connector is basically impossible. After that, connect the PCIe riser to the GPU and secure the GPU bracket. You can optionally use the included GPU support cube to prevent sagging. I didn't, but it's nice that Cooler Master includes it. Once everything is in place, reattach all the panels. The case is surprisingly forgiving for its size. Even when you make mistakes like I did, it's easy to fix them without taking half the case apart. That's something I really appreciate about the NR200P series. Once fully assembled, the case looks great on desk and works as a very clean centerpiece without taking too much physical or visual space. Alright, enough about the build, let's talk cooling. For testing, I used Unigine Heaven for GPU load, Cinebench for CPU load, and I did some real-world tests with Cyberpunk 2077. These are the funkers I used for both CPU and GPU. At 4K in Unigine Heaven, the GPU peaked at around 60 degrees Celsius, with noise levels staying very manageable. Most of what I could hear was coil whine rather than the fan noise itself. I also wanted to test whether removing the side dust filter improves cooling. This is the noise levels when running Unigine Heaven benchmark. Overall, not too bad. Next, I set my fan speed fixed at 50% and ran Cinebench GPU testing for 10 minutes. With the dust filter on, the maximum temperatures recorded were 46 degrees Celsius, while the average was 39 degrees Celsius, and the GPU load was at 63%. With the dust filter off, the max temperature was at 43 degrees Celsius, while the average was at 39 degrees Celsius. This shows an improvement, but Cinebench doesn't really fully stress a 4090, so I moved to a more demanding workload. I ran Cyberpunk 2077 at 4K resolution with max settings and ray tracing in overdrive. The fan speed was set to 70%. With the dust filter on, the maximum temperature recorded was 57 degrees Celsius, while the average was 53 degrees Celsius. With the dust filter off, the maximum temperature was 53 degrees Celsius, while the average was around 48 degrees Celsius. The takeaway here is simple. Removing the dust filter noticeably improves both temperatures and noise levels under heavy real-world gaming load. If you want to know how to remove the dust filter, you need to remove the side panel from the case. Obviously, unscrew the 3 screws at the bottom, remove the 2 magnets which are holding the bracket, and then remove the bracket, and gently lift the filter over the rubber damper and push it outward. The cutout and the sidewall shows the correct direction. Once done, reattach the magnets and the bracket, and then you can reattach the whole thing to your case. When it comes to CPU thermals, when running Cinebench, after about 5 minutes the CPU peaked at 86 degrees Celsius, which is perfectly acceptable for a fully loaded 7800X3D in a case of this size. Noise level stayed under control, and here's a quick sound test. The NR200P V3 is currently available only in black and comes as bare case, no PSU or AIO included. The price is $129 and it does include a PCIe 5.0 Razer cable, which is a big plus. Overall, I really recommend this case to anyone looking to downsize without dealing with extremely tight tolerances or frustrating compatibility issues, and believe me, I've been there. The build process is challenging but also very rewarding with a surprisingly low frustration factor. Support for long and thick GPUs is excellent, and I think the NR200P V3 strikes a great balance between size, usability and performance.